We don't like that word should in unity, do we? But guess what? The good news is you get to decide what you should not do. Freedom is always about doing the things that are in the best interest of me and the best interest of others. I'm free to live and move and have my being as an expression of God. That's the true freedom that you and I have. To live, move, and have my being as an expression of God. So I've got to figure out, what is God? The life that I thought was so great is nothing compared to the life that's available to me in the expression of my God self. My ego doesn't even a little bit get what that means. Doesn't. The ego says, hey, my life is pretty grand. Can you believe it could be grander? Someday I'll learn once and for all that nothing in the past has ever been greater than God's way. And nothing ever can be. This is the spiritual journey. This is it. Waking up to the truth. But this is not an easy journey. Because when a person decides to exercise his or her freedom to break God's laws, and yes, I said break God's laws, whether it's the one I was talking about a couple weeks ago, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, that's a universal law. When a person decides to exercise his or her freedom to break God's law, he or she is like a person that takes a flying leap off of a top building, and for the first several stories he or she feels great. So what? I'm falling, but I'm free. I'm flying. It's like, when the kids first go out of the house. There are no restraints, no restrictions, no hang-ups. Do you remember what it was like your first couple years out of the house? But suppose, just about 10 stories from the ground, the person suddenly realizes, whoops, I'm about to hit the ground. And now doesn't want to endure the consequences of that earlier jump. Have you ever been there, or is it just me? I'm definitely there. And I've talked to my friends. I could mess around for a good amount of my life through the power of my thinking and my genetic makeup, but I'm there. It's like I'm doing something that I know is not for my highest good, but I think just one more day and then I'll change. And I put it off and I put it off until finally I start to see the consequences, right, of my actions. Sound familiar? And then you go, how can God betray me? How did God abandon me now when I need God the most? Have you ever had that? Okay. Now, can the person who jumped off the building reverse the fall in process? Can you stop the fall? Not in the physical sense, no. Not in the physical life, but thank goodness this is the good news. In the spiritual life, we can always change the course of direction. Numero. So what I want to do, oh, I've lost the page. No, I haven't. So in ordinary life, in those final 10 stories, my tragic character will examine its definition of freedom. This is what happens. And realize much too late that my life choices have not been in my best interest. Uh-oh, maybe I haven't been choosing very well. But thanks to the truth teachings in my spiritual life, it's not too late. I can change right here and right now. But that freedom, folks, lies in being bold. And so what I want to share with you this morning, and I know you may need to stand up and stretch, and it's okay, you're free to do that. Because it's 11 o'clock and now I'm just getting to my 5 points. I mean, would you like to be spiritually free? Do you want to know how to do it?
Yes.
Would you like to look at a new approach to your life? Because it does take boldness. Boldness. And it takes courage and it takes a willingness to change. So if you're willing, really willing, there are 5 steps to take on the journey. Numero uno. For the Spanish ministry. Number one is what? To pray. To go within. To ask for guidance and strength to show you the way, your higher self, to show your ego the way. Instead of immediately going into the debate, immediately going into fighting to be right, how about asking the question, God, Dios, what should I do? When I want to redirect my life, when I really want to move beyond the status quo, when I want to make a drastic, dramatic, definite change in my life, I turn to God. The God within. The God within. So I've learned the hard way. Remember the school of hard knocks? To ask God. To ask God. Have thine own way in me, Lord. Thine own way. Because when I say God and I are one, we do that all the time in unity. I want to have that experience. What is that? How does that show up? Have thine own way in me. Number two, the next step is to work at the change each and every day, one day at a time. Get such wonderful teachings through the 12 steps. You take it one day or one moment, right, at a time. Persistent, constant progress is what we're looking for. You know, with God's help, even the turtle crosses the finish line and even wins the race sometimes. If I want to be free, I have to be patient with myself. Look again at the Israelites. After they fled their bondage in Egypt, what happened? They wandered in the wilderness for 40 years before they reached the shores of the promised land. Does that mean we're going to wander for 40 years trying to find our soul's freedom? No. Probably. But I know I am. But metaphysically, the 40 years in the Bible actually means 4 equals 4 square, which means completion, and the 0 is a multiplier, which means there's more than enough time. 40 isn't to be taken literally. It means there's more than enough time to reach completion.
Say it again.
Say that again. 4 equals 4 square, which is completion, and 0 is a multiplier, which means there's more than enough time. Unity teachings. So the less I resist, the quicker will be the results. I must take it one day at a time. So I've got to overcome that resistance, and that resistance is pretty strong. So that's number 2. Now, for the third step on this journey, I need to associate with people who are free.
Perfect.
Who are working or who are working toward becoming free. You will know who is free through their conversations. They'll talk like they're free. They won't always be complaining about how bad things are. Their conversations won't be limited, and they won't limit you with what they say. You all know in your hearts when you're in the company of free souls, don't you? You want to interact with them. You want to talk with them, experience with them, enjoy life with them, grow with them, change with them, stretch with them. Be cautious about those who wish to stay in bondage. Don't think it won't rub off on you, because it will. It may have already. If you want to be free, and I want to be free, I make sure I find people who are already free or who are moving towards that freedom, so that we can come together and support each other in the growth and in the change. That's what unity is really about, folks. You want comfort? Go back to your old churches. You'll be comfortable there. They're not going to mix things up too much, except for when they try to make women, you know, priests or gays in the clergy, or every now and then there's a little hiccup. But as far as what they teach, the liturgical teachings of the church, you won't get shook up too much. The fourth step. What's the fourth step? You got to learn to be patient. Patient